I watched Yu Yu Hakusho for the first time in 2024 and it was amazing. For the people who don't know what Yu Yu Hakusho is, it's basically Hunter x Hunter before Hunter x Hunter. The reason I'm saying this is because the creator of Hunter x Hunter, Togashi, also created Yu Yu Hakusho. Lucky for me, I had finished Hunter x Hunter before I watched Yu Yu Hakusho, and the parallels are very evident. Like, you can see how Yu Yu Hakusho and Hunter x Hunter are related to each other. But I will say, even though these two animes share similarities, Yu Yu Hakusho is distinct in its own way. For anybody who hasn't watched Yu Yu Hakusho, this video contains spoilers. So if you haven't watched Yu Yu Hakusho, save this video for later, watch it, and come back to this video when you're done. Alright, back to the video. Yu Yu Hakusho's story is very good and progresses in an enjoyable way. All of the arcs are good, but the Dark Tournament is gas. I do have a couple of nitpicks with the Chapter Black arc and the Three Kings arc, but I'll go into that in more detail later in the video. Let's focus on the main cast for a second. I'll talk about them individually. First, let's talk about Yusuke. If you guys don't already know, Yusuke is the main character of Yu Yu Hakusho. He's a stubborn middle schooler that loves to skip school. While skipping school one day, Yusuke comes across a kid and helps him get his ball. Little did Yusuke know that this one thing would change his life forever. So the kid loses the ball again, and while Yusuke goes to get the ball, he gets hit by a car and dies. I'm not joking. Take a look for yourself. Lucky for Yusuke, he gets a chance to come back to life after meeting Botan, a spirit, and eventually does. He then goes on to become a spirit detective, and that's where we meet the next two characters, Kurama and Hiei. But before that, I want to talk about another one of the main characters, Kuwabara. Kuwabara is introduced before Yusuke dies, and it's basically Yusuke's rival. He consistently tries to fight Yusuke, but always loses. During the time of Yusuke being dead, we get to see that Kuwabara is actually a good guy at heart. He's basically the Leo Rio of the group, but that's basically it until later in the anime. We also have Keiko, Yusuke's love interest. That's about it. We also have Koenma, who is the son of King Enma. He's a spirit that looks like a little kid, but he's over 600 years old. For majority of the anime, he's the ruler of the spirit world, and he's the one that decides to make Yusuke a spirit detective. Now let's get to the other two main characters that I mentioned earlier, Kurama and Hiei. Yusuke comes across Kurama and Hiei during a mission. These two are wanted criminals in the spirit realm that need to be caught because of the items they stole. There was actually three, but the other one doesn't really matter. Kurama is a half demon who stole an item to save his human mother. Kurama's quote-unquote mother isn't actually his mother, but is at the same time. She's basically just someone who took care of him. I know that's kind of confusing, but hear me out. A little context is that Kurama was actually a powerful demon who went by the name Yoko Kurama, but got injured and got his spirit put into a babe. So basically, Kurama actually has two personalities. Back to the actual story. Yusuke being the real one he helps Kurama with his issue, and in return, Kurama helps Yusuke stop Hiei. So basically, Kurama helps Yusuke beat Hiei, and that's basically it. Now let's talk about Hiei. Hiei is actually him. I remember seeing somewhere that Hiei was a Sasuke clone, but if we're being honest, Sasuke is the Hiei clone. But real talk, Hiei and Sasuke do have similarities. They both use flames, they both have a special eye, they're both anti-heroes, you get my point. Hiei was born from a family that was supposed to only have daughters. They say that if any woman has a boy, the boy will bring chaos to the group. So as a baby, he was thrown off a cliff and went on to look for the village for revenge. Eventually, he finds out that he has a sister, and soon enough, he looks for a man who could give him a third eye called Jagan to help him find his sister. Basically, the eye gives you a whole bunch of powers, but once you get it, you get it. Anyways, that's enough about that. Eventually, Yusuke is asked to enter a tournament. Whoever wins this tournament gets to train under Genkai. She's basically Kite from Hunter x Hunter in terms of how she mentors Yusuke and Kuwabara. Also, she dies, but she gets to come back to life. Anyways, Genkai acts as Yusuke's and Kuwabara's teacher for most of the anime, and even gives Yusuke her power around the time of the Dark Tournament. I think that's enough about the background of the characters, so let's move on to the arcs. So as I said before, I love all of the arcs in Yu Yu Hakusho, but there are two arcs in particular that I had an issue with. These two arcs are the Chapter Black arc and the Three Kings arc. First, let's talk about the Chapter Black arc. If you guys remember, when Yusuke fights Sensui underground and loses, he wakes up after it's revealed that he has demon kin blood in him. Then he goes on to fight him in the demon plane, and we all know how that goes. My issue is the fact that Yusuke just happens to have demon kin blood in him. I feel like him getting a power up was just random. I'm aware it sets up the Three Kings arc, and I know that some people will say that it was hinted at for a while, which I can respect, but it just doesn't feel right when it happened. Other than that, the Chapter Black arc was perfect. The introduction of territories and the split personalities for Sensui worked really well. This is really the only problem I had with the Chapter Black arc. Next, let's talk about the Three Kings arc. My only issue with the Three Kings arc is how rushed it felt. I feel like it went from one thing to another way too quick. Like, don't get me wrong, the tournament was fire, but I don't think that it makes up for the rush feeling I had while watching. But overall, I do still think it's a good arc. Now it's time to talk about my favorite arc, the Dark Tournament. The Dark Tournament was actually fire. We got to see Yoko Kurama for the first time. Hiei used his flame dragon that literally eviscerated someone. We got Yusuke versus Toguro again. The fights in the Dark Tournament actually had suspense suspense and made me want to keep watching. Not to mention that the opponents were actually cool. Rinku, Chu, Toya, and Jin were the most memorable characters for me, and they actually showed up in the Three Kings arc. All of these characters except for Jin remind me of other anime characters. Rinku and Killua with the yo-yo, Chu and Rock Lee with Drunken Fist, and Toya and Hitsugaya with Ice. I could go on about the fights in the Dark Tournament that I liked, but I won't. The anime does a good job of combining the story with fighting. During the Dark Tournament, we get to see how Genkai and Toguro are connected, and why Genkai ends up giving Yusuke her powers. All in all, the Dark Tournament was just what I wanted for Yu Yu Hakusho, and it completely exceeded my expectations. If Yu Yu Hakusho had ended after the Dark Tournament, I wouldn't have been mad, but that's just me. Let me know in the comments what your favorite arc in Yu Yu Hakusho is, and if you want to see me do another video about the Dark Tournament. I appreciate the support, and I'll see y'all next time. Peace.